Coming up at 10, Middays with Marks. Now more of Kincaid and Saltunis.
97.5 The Fanatic and the Fanatic app.
Oh, we got our guy Adam Schefter joining us in just 5 minutes. Mandatory minicamp. And Adam
mandatory
Schefter,
listening.
Oh, 100%. I was just going to say, it's always mandatory for you to hear what Adam Schefter has to say when he joins us. We've been talking heavy Eagles today with the Nick Sirianni comments yesterday about A.J. Brown. With his exit, I don't think any of us expected the length at which Nick Sirianni was going to talk about A.J. Brown.
No, we didn't expect it. That was not what we would have thought. That's not what we would have thought, but it happened. Linda on the Twitter, Eagles season ticket holder, says, and we appreciate her checking in. She says, I'm over it, but the radio heads still talk about it. And I said to her, well, the head coach talking about it is not a radio head. Yeah. But thank you, Linda.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
You know that little girl, the bad little girl from daycare? Did you ever see the bad little daycare girl?
No.
Oh, she's great. The bad little daycare girl, she gets in trouble at daycare, and she goes, Let me tell you something, Linda. And she's hilarious. I'll find it for you.
Yeah,
she's like, let me tell you something, Linda. And whenever I hear Linda now, it's sort of like a Karen. I just think the name has been ruined. But Linda, you're a good fan. I appreciate it. But Nick Sirianni talks about a player that he no longer coaches, and the way he did talk about it in detail, we're definitely going to talk about it. Yes.
So here was to me the biggest sound clip that we had from Nick Sirianni's press conference yesterday. He was asked about his level of input on the A.J. Brown trade and what role he played in deciding where A.J. was being traded to, how they're going to do that, and he talked about the collaboration with Howie Roseman.
Well, Howie and I discuss everything. As you guys know, we talk through everything, and so many things that he did that was good for our football team, and always will wish him the best of luck. And but like I said, really excited about the guys in that room and where we are. But this is a team game, to your question, and just in every decision, that I make and decisions that Howie makes, we talk to each other about it. What a good teammate that I have with Howie Roseman to be able to go to battle with, and that's like that with everything.
This is a team game. What a good teammate I have in Howie Rose. That's objectively, and now Nick Sirianni says weird stuff sometimes. So I don't want to overstate this.
He's been known to say some weird things over the years.
But that's objectively a non-typical way of wording that relationship between a coach and a general manager. It's hard to imagine that wasn't at least, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, something to do with the quality of teammate that you had with A.J. Brown last year and the exit from there. It's a team game, is what Nick Sirianni said, and we know that not everybody on the team was pulling in the same direction last year.
Yeah, we do know that. Yeah, that was a bit of a problem. Thank you, AJ.
So with that, part of our conversation today, and you can join us, we've been getting some great feedback on the phone line, text line today. The Davis Honda text line is open. You can check out the Davis difference in Burlington at Davis Honda. We've been getting a bunch of people checking in on the conversation on when will you move on? A lot of people on the YouTube chat have been saying today, move on already. Linda was just saying that. Now,
hello, Linda.
For us, we are.
Yes.
It's our job.
When the head coach is talking about it, with all due respect, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
he felt it was important enough to talk about. We're going to talk about it.
Right.
Especially when he was candid.
But fans have the opportunity to avoid that. And the fans have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm over it right now, or I'll keep that grudge forever. So
absolutely.
As we await Adam Schefter joining us, what do we have on the text line on our big conversation?
Yeah, JR from New York checking in, says, today's the last day to dwell on AJ. Like John said earlier, I hope today's questions are about this year's team. Moving forward is all about the players we want to be here when life gives you lemons.
I like that.
I like that too.
Yes, and I hope today Nick Sirianni gets no questions about AJ Brown and moves on, and that the questions are moved on. I do believe that's what it's going to be.
I think so. I don't know what more you could expect him to say. You already got.
And knowing the Eagles beat, which is a great beat, I believe they will move on today.
The other thing too, if you're someone out there, because I know there are grudge holders out there in the Eagles fan base that are like, I'm never getting over this. That's fine. That's your right. He did you wrong.
Yes.
And you have every right to hold that grudge. We don't really, like now we do, and mandatory minicamp is what it is. You're not learning all that much about what the offense is going to be. It's an intriguing time, but as we get closer to the season, we don't have time to hold a grudge. We don't. We don't either. Like, as far as conversation about this team is concerned, there are some major questions about this Philadelphia Eagles team heading into one of the bigger seasons in recent memory.
What do you think the major questions are? Because we've talked about this with Andrew.
Yeah.
Like we've gotten into this.
Well, number one, obviously, is Jalen Hurts, if he's good or not.
I think he's just not. Like, that's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard.
Sean, we should retweet that clip.
I mean, get Andrew really upset.
But no, the offense and where things are going with the entire scheme change. They did essentially a 180 from something that worked really well when it comes to the offensive scheme, and they're putting that to the test. They're throwing the boat in the water and seeing if it floats this year. Like, there's plenty to talk about outside of number 11 or number 1, whatever you call him now, that guy up in New England. So at some point, out of necessity, we're going to have to stop having the A.J. Brown conversation. But our conversation today is, when do you move on? Clearly, Nick Sirianni has not fully, because he talked at length yesterday in his media availability about A.J. Brown. Had some interesting things to say. So we'll get Schefter's perspective as he joins us now on Kincaid and South Tunis. Adam Schefter live here as he is every Wednesday. And Adam, Nick Sirianni yesterday, it was interesting how much he talked at length about A.J. Brown. Sometimes you'll see coaches say, that guy's on another team now. Next question. I don't want to get into it. What do you make of how much he had to say?
I think that there's a respect there, that he knows that people in the area have been talking about it for months. They haven't really talked about it. It's always been like, A.J. Brown's a part of the team. A.J. Brown's a part of the team. Well, he's not a part of the team, and he deserves the proper send-off, and he deserves some flowers. And I didn't see his comments, and I didn't hear them, so I don't know. But I'm going to guess there were probably a lot of complimentary things that he was able to say about A.J. Brown. Am I correct?
No. In fact, no. Do you want to hear one of them? That's the most interesting one. Sean, let's get to the one that Connor led off the show with today, because it's really interesting about everybody sort of rowing the boat in the same direction. And let's let you hear this. Adam Schefter hearing this live.
Well, Howie and I discuss everything. As you guys know, we talk through everything. And, so many things that he did that was good for our football team, and always will wish him the best of luck. And but like I said, really excited about the guys in that room and where we are. But this is a team game, to your question, and just in every decision that I make and decisions that Howie makes, we talk to each other about it. What a good teammate that I have with Howie Roseman to be able to go to battle with. And that's like that with everything.
It didn't really get to the one where he talked about the fact is, if you're not he goes on more with that. He goes on more to talk about the fact is, if you're not, everybody wants to be a Pro Bowler. Everybody wants to it. But if you want the personal stuff, it's got to be about the team. He was very sort of non-complimentary in a way.
Yeah, well, the one thing he said right there, exactly what you're saying, it's about the team.
Yes.
In other words, AJ wasn't about the team.
Correct.
That's what that was.
And that's amazing to me that he was that candid, because I expected him yesterday to say, he's a New England Patriot, I'm not talking about it. And he was very, very candid about getting guys in there that are about the team. And I love that candid response from Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. Well, listen, and that is the other part of it. Now that I've heard a little bit of it, it is his chance to kind of clear the slate. Like, yes, the guy was a great player, but he wasn't a team guy in our mind. That's, again, the way I took his comments right there. So clearly he had some things he wanted to get off his chest. But I didn't hear the full pressure.
It was painted to us locally by many of the local media that everybody was totally behind A.J. Brown in that locker room, and that he was just everybody loved him and everything. But what was clear is, it seems as if you can love a teammate but not love the way they conducted themselves. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. And look, we all saw it play out over the last year or so. It was always an issue. It was always coming up. And so, how much conversation do we have about him and it on this show?
Sure.
It was a never-ending topic. And it's probably good for everybody to move on and move ahead and to go from there. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
So let's do that. Now, Andrew Salchunas has the day off today. It is not because of a clip that went viral from our show last week about Jalen Hurts. He's got regular vacation, but he was getting ripped because he said his number one question for the Eagles this year is about Jalen Hurts' performance at the quarterback position with the change in offense, Sean Mannion now taking over. What is your evaluation of that? Is that your number one question?
My number one question for this team this year would be if the offensive line can stay healthy and hold up. Because, and it's not a very sexy question, right? Like, if the offensive line isn't healthy and we can't get Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson back to health, I don't care what plays Sean Mannion's calling. They're not going to have much of a chance.
That's my number one question, too.
The offensive line has to be better. It has to be healthier. They've been the foundation of that team for so long. They've been responsible for so much success. We're talking about elite, all-time Eagle talents. So I don't say this in a critical way, but I say it in a way in which the offensive line has had to play through some injuries, and it's aging. And are they going to hold up and hold together? If they do, it's going to be a great season. If they don't, it's not. But to me, that's where it starts. To me.
All right. Now, with that, the passing offense is going to be relying on the offensive line. DeVonta Smith now takes over as wide receiver 1 here with A.J. Brown leaving. What have you heard around the league about the evaluation of who he could be as a wide receiver 1?
Oh, I think he's absolutely up to the challenge. One of the toughest players in the league. He's immensely respected in that locker room. People love the guy. And, yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a big concern for that team. I think DeVonta Smith's going to respond this year. I really do.
Is a bigger question I had is my second question was the big question is does the running game with Saquon Barkley bounce back? Is that because last year, I think it's something that we don't talk about here, is that they went from being so dominant, so historically dominant, to last year being rather mediocre.
Again, let's go back to the offensive line.
Sure.
I mean, that's my point on these things, is so much starts and ends there. If the offensive line is not healthy and playing well, the running game is not going to be what it should be. If the offensive line is not healthy and playing well, DeVonta Smith's not going to be as much of a factor as he should be. So I think it was natural to think that Saquon couldn't have the exact kind of year he had the year before. But he's still an elite superstar talent. So should have been good, but everything was down last year. I go back to the offensive line. That's where it starts and ends for me.
We're talking to Adam Schefter of ESPN here on Kincaid and Salchunas. Now, a question for you that we actually just played a clip of recently that you had comments earlier this week. When the Eagles play the Los Angeles Rams, week 4 of the regular season, will this offensive line have to block Aaron Donald?
Oh, my gosh.
Again, I thought I was pretty clear in my podcast, but again, I should never be surprised. I love this, that people all turn into headlines. Schefter. Donald is more likely than not. Yeah, that's what I said. I also said if you play the full clip, nobody said that. This is my inference, gathering it together. It's not clear. There's no definitive update. Things have to, there's a lot of it. That's my, as I said very clearly, that's my guess. So I guess, when we're making guesses, it becomes newsworthy.
Sure.
I guess so.
Look, when we guess, nobody thinks anything of it. When you guess, They're saying Adam Schefter talks to people. So when he's guessing, he's making a more, let's just say, informed guess.
Right. I understand that. And that's fine and fair, I guess.
It is. Yeah, it's fair.
And there's no decision on Aaron Donald, and it's still up in the air. I'm just me reading between the lines and formulating a guess is I think we're going to see him. That's my opinion. Okay? They're already talking about the idea of it. He's openly said he's thinking about it. It's early June when camp rolls around in late July. And he has the opportunity to go play with Myles Garrett and be a hero. Like, I don't know what he's been doing in his life for the last 2 years, and he may not need to want football, and he may not care about it either. But can you imagine, like, how beloved he would be and how celebrated he would be and how appreciated if he showed up back to work where they're going to pay him millions of dollars to play? Like, I mean, yeah, you could stay home and lift on your own and take out the garbage and do household chores, or you could do that. What do you think he's going to do?
I wouldn't carry out the garbage if I had his money. I wouldn't be carrying out the garbage. I'd be paying someone to carry out the garbage. You kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now
again, it doesn't mean it will happen, and he may not play. He has not made a decision. I just think that in the end, that when he decides what's going to happen, my guess is that he's going to ultimately decide, you know what, let's go make this happen. Let's go do this.
It wouldn't be awesome for us, by the way.
Yeah, what type of impact does that have in the NFC landscape? If you're an Eagles fan, we got a bunch listening.
Yeah.
Like, how much does that scare you about your chances in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you'd be concerned about that. He's an unbelievable player, but you know he's been out of the league for the last 2 years. It'll take him a little bit of time, but he is Aaron Donald. Like,
I mean, yes. I mean, we just saw Brandon Graham walk off the street, you know, a couple times and be able to show that he could come in and step in and contribute and be valuable if it's just 15 snaps. Something like that. Right. I can't even imagine Aaron Donald stepping in and giving them 15. It's almost unfair. They get the Dodgers, and then they can get the Rams too. And the fact that my man Les Snead's doing it really sort of pisses me off. I mean, this is a really well done, executed plan if he pulls this off.
Yeah, they've done a great job. They've done a great job, and it's going to be it really does feel like a super team.
And they're doing it in a cap, so they're not doing it where people can bitch and complain like they do with the Dodgers. They're doing it. They're doing it under the rules of the game, and they just gotta, you know, everybody else has got a deal.
Well, again, they're going to be the Super Bowl favorites this year. They're going to be the Super Bowl favorites for good reason. They have an incredible roster, but you still got to go play 17 games.
Yep. Stay healthy.
And there's a lot that happens over the course of a season.
Yes, and we are a long way from that with mandatory minicamp just getting going. Adam, we always appreciate the time.
Thanks, Adam.
Now, understand you're out of the country next week, so we'll be talking to you in 2 weeks for your next
Enjoy
appearance.
yourself. Safe travels.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you. You too. There is Adam Schefter joining us on Kincaid and Sal Chunas of ESPN. And he was really intrigued when we played him that Nick Sirianni sound. I'm glad he heard what we heard.
He did. He heard it. Look, it's obvious. It's that, look, I have done it. I've been in the role of being a embedded reporter covering a team on being TV and radio with a team for the whole year, covering a team. I've been embedded in a role of doing this job, but with a franchise where you like a flagship station where you're sort of reporting and doing things like that.
Right.
Sometimes you get too close to things. You get to know the athletes a little bit. You get warm and fuzzy for them. And you start your personal feelings for the athlete start to gauge. You go, I think I know what all the other athletes feel about them. And I think what we got a lot of was with A.J. Brown we got a lot of, I know that the guys in this room love A.J. Brown. And they do.
Yeah.
But what we didn't get is there's a lot of guys, and we heard one from Nick Sirianni, that didn't appreciate the work ethic last year.
This is why it's always been silly to me. We have conversations sometimes, though. The national media, they're not here day in and day out, so they don't see things the way that
they
we
don't
see
live
them.
it like we do.
Exactly. I think for some instances, that is a negative thing for the local fan base or reporters. Like the Phillies, I think, are a great example. National media will tell you how good they are. They'll rank them top 5 in the power rankings, all this stuff. And because we've been through the emotional struggle of watching this team play, the fan base will be like, y'all are crazy. How are you possibly seeing this?
That's a good one.
You're more negative because you're so close to it. And in other instances, you're more positive. For me, I'd like to evaluate on an individual basis who we're listening to and who seems to be making sense. And right there, clearly, Adam Schefter feeling what we're feeling, that Nick Sirianni had some stuff to say about A.J. Brown yesterday.
And it wasn't vicious.
No.
But it was clear he was making a statement.
He absolutely was. Now, was somebody else who maybe shouldn't be making a statement recently? We're going to talk about a guy that, well, John, I'm going to let you have this one because I don't know if I want to be on your side of the conversation with this.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be.
In fact, I'll push back a little bit, but we're talking Big Dom coming up next, folks. And some interesting stuff from Mike Garafolo on where some A.J. Brown news is coming from. That comes your way next here on Kincaid and Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincaid and Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Kincaid and Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Oh, Johnny, listen, I'm going to scoot my chair further away to this side of the studio for this conversation.
I want Rodman in on this, too. If he's got going to do this, too, I want Rodman in on this. And I said, we'll even get Austin in on this one, too, because I've sort of had enough of something.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one that's going to, it'll ruffle some feathers.
Yes, it will. That comes
I told you, this one's not going to be popular with some people.
You wrote that down when you set the topic over. That comes your way in just about 3 minutes. I want to check in on the text line first, though. The Davis Honda text line is rolling. We've been talking a lot of A.J. Brown so far today. And what do we have from the people on when they're going to move on or the evaluation of what Nick Sirianni had to say about A.J. Brown?
Yes, Sean from Cinnaminson checks in saying, I've moved on from you, A.J. I'll keep an eye on the Patriots because they will struggle this year. And hopefully he doesn't.
It sounds like, well, he said hopefully he doesn't. Huh, interesting.
Or I'm sorry, I think he means, he says hopefully he doesn't. I think he means, though, hopefully he does struggle.
I think he means he does, yeah. We're all hoping he does.
Yeah, I don't want him to
one thing I do not wish on him, I do not wish on him mental anguish.
No.
I do not wish on him physical injury.
No.
I wish on him complete failure in everything else because you know what? He's made enough money that he should not have a worry in his world. And from what I know of AJ, from what I've been told, he's got his first communion money. It's an old Catholic expression. He lives sort of frugally.
Yeah,
he's going to be fine.
Honda, right?
So I'm not worried about AJ Brown. I don't wish him well. I hope he has a good life mentally. I hope he has a good life physically. Other than that, I hope he has failure. Yeah. Complete failure.
Unless you're a Philadelphia Eagle or you're on my fantasy football team, I'm rooting against you. I don't know why it would be different with AJ Brown.
I want him to go 0-17.
Yeah, but
I'd be fine with it, but I don't wish injury. I hear people don't ever wish that on people.
Don't be an ass.
Yeah, don't be an ass about it.
Yeah,
don't be an ass.
And the mental anguish thing is a very important part of it, too.
By the way, it is real. And I do believe his actions convince me more than ever that his mental stuff really plays into what he is. A former Falcon,
yes,
who I know well, Roddy White, last night. I went on Twitter and said, hey, Roddy, put your phone down. Because I knew Roddy White from the day he was drafted. And last night he was going on Twitter and having sort of a meltdown over something else.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Roddy, put your phone down. There's people who can't control themselves.
Right.
I think AJ, in a way, is sort of that guy.
And there's a lot of things that could affect you in life. We found out another one in the break, actually. It's funny how stuff comes up that you think is just innocuous around here.
All right.
And it ends up being something where I'm like, Yeah,
What is it?
we have to mention it. So I was standing out there, and the ceilings are relatively low here, and I was just like,
They are
jumping up
relatively
and
low.
touching the
Sure,
ceiling.
absolutely.
Because you know me, I'm always taking a golf swing or pretending to do a jump shot.
No, you are.
And Austin Jones was like, "Oh, well, you're 6'3". That's not impressive." Clearly, like joking. But I was like, "No, I'm 5'11". We got on the topic of what does your license say, and my driver's license has me at 5'11", which is my height.
Right.
The funny thing is, I actually told them, I wrote down that I was 6 foot, and they somehow got me at 5'11" anyway. So I'm like, damn, I couldn't even get away with it. And then Sean Rodman, who's on the board today, pulls out his license. And
What does it say?
you would never believe. Sean, can you tell John Kincaid here, because nobody else is listening. This is just between us in the room.
Yeah, no one's listening.
What does your license say your height is?
My license says I'm 5'4", but I'm 5'6". It's been when I got my license at 17. I never changed the height.
You can't be walking around.
You have to change. Okay.
How old are you, Sean?
28.
You can't at 28 be walking around with a license that says you're 5'4". Dude, you got that extra 2 inches. I don't care if it only gets you to 5'6". Like, you got to go back into the DMV and change that.
I have, let's see, it says a year from today is when it expires.
I would
So
expedite that a
next
little bit.
year.
All
Next
due
year I'll
respect
get
to our
it.
short kings out there, you can't be walking around with a license that says you're 5'4".
You got to, honestly, next time, don't just do the auto renew. Go change that.
Oh, I got to change
Go
the
change
license.
that.
I got to
Get
change
your-
the address.
Get
on
your
there,
picture
too.
changed. Go do those things.
That
you
was
go.
I was dying in the break about
That's
that.
not
'Cause,
good.
like, man, I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything.
No, but
there,
just don't do
5'4". You got to get every last. You got to get what you're worth, man. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Okay, fair enough. Now, does this bother you?
Bothers us worse for you. This might bother you.
Because John Kincaid is taking aim at one of the inside men of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, we've got the audio, right, of Mike Garafolo?
We do.
We got the audio that we can play. Mike Garafolo on the NFL Network talking about A.J. Brown, and there was a team spokesman for the Philadelphia Eagles who was trying to dispel some of the stupid rumors that were out there about A.J. Brown.
Let me also hit the other elephant now. This talk of what's happening and why the trade happened, and A.J. Brown and Hassan Reddick, and you've seen it probably on social media. I talked to Big Dom about this, okay? And Big Dom knows what's happening in that entire building, and he was adamant that is not true. There is no truth to that part. That Hassan Reddick is no longer an Eagle because Hassan Reddick wanted a huge payday. And A.J. Brown is no longer an Eagle for reasons that have nothing to do with what's circulating online. He could not have been more adamant. That story is complete and utter bupkis.
Okay, first of all, Mike Garafolo does an amazing job, and he's a local guy. So I want to lead with that. All right? Mike does a great job.
And before we get into the Big Dom part of it, for anyone who's like, oh, the massage therapist, oh, who's that?
Yes.
That's not a thing, guys.
Well, it was a nonsense story. I've been told it was a nonsense story by somebody who wears an Eagles jersey,
Yeah.
by someone who works directly with the Eagles, and somebody who has left the Eagles.
And there's another one there.
That
So
is
we could leave that.
That is a ridiculous. I sourced it 3 different ways that it is a ridiculous, stupid story. And the stolen car story,
Yes.
also a ridiculous, stupid story.
So that's off the table.
Okay, but Mike Garafolo and this whole thing about, well, I talked to Big Dom. Mike is a guy that is a relentless reporter by his reputation. That's why he's good at his job. But Big Dom is not a credible source when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles
How can you say that?
because he's on the Philadelphia Eagles payroll, and he's not going to tell you if there was a negative story in the Philadelphia Eagles. His role is a director of team security, no matter what little vice president role they give him or whatever. He's the director of team security. By the way, when I've worked in professional sports and worked for teams, every team has had a Big Dom, but you just don't know their names. Because you know what? You're not supposed to. Back in the day, Arthur Blank had a guy who worked for him that was ex-Secret Service for the President of the United States. So the guy the Falcons had was a guy who protected the President of the United States on a daily basis. He was their Big Dom. And got to know him a little bit. And you're not supposed to know him. He's a background guy. And people always say, think of all the secrets that Big Dom knows. And think of all the things that he's fixed over the years. You know who does that? The head of security for every single NFL team. Every team. That's what they do. But you know what you don't do? You don't know their name. And you don't hear them quoted in stories. And you don't hear them talking to NFL insiders where they're quoted. And to me, that's the problem. Because in any journalism class, and as a college professor who, by the way, I'm having to step away from Temple University, I'm going to be sad as I will relocate. I'm very sad to do that. I would tell my broadcasting students, speaking to Big Dom about an Eagles story is not a credible source if you can quote Big Dom. Because he's not motivated to tell you the truth. His job is for you not to know the truth. Big Dom's job is to clean up the messes. Make sure you don't know what's going on. Now, look, I've already researched this story with 3 other people that are one out of the building, one playing for the team otherwise. The story's fake. But Big Dom, he's not there to be a credible source. Big Dom's job is to lead you in the opposite direction of the truth. Lead you away from the facts. Cover up stuff that could be a problem. That's what fixers do. If you've never seen a movie, that's what the fixer does. Their job is not to be a credible source, or better yet, to be a source on stories on NFL Live, the NFL Network, or anything else. I think it's time that the fixer go back to being a background role. I will just tell you, as a longtime fan of the soap operas, on The Young and the Restless, on General Hospital, look, Sonny Corinthos and Victor Newman, they're main characters. But these guys are like mob bosses. Their fixers are characters. But they don't, like Stephen A. Smith is Sonny's. Stephen A. Smith plays Sonny Corinthos' fixer on General Hospital. Brick is not a main character. Brick works in the background. He's not quoted. And more importantly, Brick would lie through his teeth for Sonny.
So what now?
You're not supposed to be quoting the head of security. The head of security is not going to tell you the truth.
So Big Dom's bar now is Stephen A. Smith's character on a soap opera?
Yes, Big Dom is Brick from General Hospital.
I just never understood, because you and Andrew both feel this way. I never understood what it's hurting.
Here's what it is. You couldn't tell me for $100. You couldn't tell me the name of the director of security for any other team in professional sports.
I can't.
Okay? There's a reason for that.
Okay.
Because they're supposed to be in the background. They're supposed to be, what they do is they do clean up messes. And I can tell you, I remember a situation, its statute of limitations has run out. I remember a situation where a Falcons player drove their car into a piece of farm property up near Flowery Branch one night.
Nobody in that state can drive.
In the middle of the night, like after hours.
Yeah.
This story sort of went by the wayside because the local sheriff calls the fixer calls the thing, and they get it all handled.
You settle the situation.
And everything handles, and it's just and these alleged things happen. And they clean them up. So people are like, we're trying to figure out the story, and the story gets squelched from everything. By the way, these things happen every season around every pro sports team. Right. I watched it where I was part of a team, embedded reporter, television host for the team, radio host for the team, where one player drove the car and killed another member of the team. Danny Heatley drove a car more than twice the legal limit, and the car crashed, and Dan Snyder died in the accident. And there were people involved in the organization to make sure that it didn't get to be, everybody didn't know the whole story in the press.
Yeah, Big Dom does that for the Eagles. There's stuff that doesn't come out because he does his job. I just don't understand what it's hurting.
Because he's not a credible source. Because he's not going to, you think that he's going to go on, if he gets quoted in a story, do you think he's telling you the truth if it's negative against the Eagles?
But that's not your only problem, because you've brought up FaceTime and being on camera and everything.
He doesn't need to be a public figure for this team.
Yeah, but what is it hurting? Like, you still haven't told me what it's hurting. Why is it negative for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, I'd imagine Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have a pretty damn good handle on this organization.
I think they have a great organization.
They both speak glowingly of the guy. If they felt that he was having a negative impact on the organization, they'd tell him to stop doing it.
What I'm saying to you is it's comedic that it's being used as, well, Big Dom said it, so we believe it. His job is for you not to know the truth. That's part of his job description.
When I see a comedy, I don't yell at it. I laugh at it.
Part of his job description is for you not to know the truth.
Well, that's no
longer... So he can never be quoted in a story because he's not... His job is to make sure we don't know what happens.
Yeah, but it's Pandora's box, man. You can't just now all of a sudden pretend like Big Dom doesn't exist.
Is that the one with the cat?
No, that's Schrodinger's cat.
Okay,
yeah, the cat is both alive and dead. Pandora's box, you cannot close it. Let's go toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, I get it. Use the simpler ones for me.
But we're never going to get to a point where he's not part of the storyline.
It's amazing, though, how he constantly finds a way to make himself part of the story.
It's not typical, but to me, it's not hurting.
It's the exact outlier of every team in pro sports. Yeah. No one does it like that.
Different doesn't mean wrong. I don't think he's hurting the team, but that's just me. So let us know what you think on that as well. I'm interested if any Eagles fans feel the same way about our guy, Big Dom DeSandro. Coming up next, we'll get an update on our Twitter poll. And we also have an interesting topic that Johnny's stealing from Middays with Marks yesterday, dealing with the Sixers' new GM, Jameer Nelson, and how we view people in this Philadelphia area. This is just an area conversation, but it has a sports side to it as well. We'll get into that as we continue. Kincaid and Salchunas. I'm Connor Thomas in for Andrew Salchunas alongside John Kincaid, Sean Rodman on the board. Back after this here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincaid and Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now back to Kincaid and Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and the Fanatic app.
Where in the world are you from? That's something that we talk about coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Kincaid and Salchunas, I'm Connor Thomas.
I've asked where you're from quite a few times.
Some people would say Neptune. People don't even know. Maybe out of this solar system, depending on the day. But we're talking more area-wise. We will get to that in just a second as I sit in for Andrew Salchunas. I'm Connor Thomas. Andy will be back on Monday. So me and Johnny are holding down the fort. Sean Rodman on the board today. And we have our Twitter poll. Dr. Avidan Appel, he doesn't ever take vacation. The Twitter poll is always up 4 hours strong in the morning and the afternoons. What's our poll and our results so far, Sean?
Our poll today is, did Nick Sirianni's comments yesterday on A.J. Brown in any way change your opinion on the end of A.J.'s time in Philly? Still leading in a slight tick up, no at 82% to yes at 18%.
So 82%, that's a large majority that are saying, no, it didn't change their opinion. Now, does that say...
I think that they just believed all along the way he obviously made it clear that he believes.
Would you imagine? So
I didn't think it, though.
Let's build this out. Would you think, if we ask the question, are you positive or negative on A.J. Brown's leaving of Philadelphia? Just word that some way. Do you think it would be like 80% negative?
I think it sort of seems like it's gone that way now.
So you believe that's...
And by the way, I'm shocked how quickly it has swung.
Yeah. Well, once the reality sets in and you hear him talk about how... He's had a Patriots rug forever.
Which, by the way, is a total line of crap.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
But that leads to people, once you accept it, then you move on to that.
Yes.
And I think we've come to the point of acceptance. We've also talked about today, have you come to the point of moving on? Are you over it? Or will you hold this grudge and continue to think about, damn, I wish he was here, or I hope he fails, or when we see the Patriots play, will it pop back into your mind? Like, are you ready to move on at this point and say, I'm focused on the Eagles 2026-2027 season? So we've been getting into that throughout the show today. Now, coming up at 10 a.m., we were just talking to Ray Dunn in the break, who produces wonderful Middays with Marks program. You're going to hear John Marks and Sean Brace, and you're taking a topic on something that they talked about yesterday, Johnny.
Yeah, it was really interesting, is that always interesting on Middays with Marks. And yesterday, John and Ray were talking about it because Sean was off. People were upset that in national media was referring to Jameer Nelson as a Philly native in a national story in his promotion from the Sixers. And because he's from Chester, which is Lower Delco. As a Delco native, I couldn't believe it. I'm hearing the story, and I totally understood where John and Ray were talking about it, because it is only here in Philly that we care about this crap. It's only in Philadelphia that we would be so damn territorial to care about it. That, like, when people with Jameer Nelson is from Chester, he's from Lower Delco. Okay. Whoop-de-freaking do. Jameer Nelson is from Philadelphia. Lower Delco. I'm from Delco. We do not have our own sports franchises. We do not have our own airport. We do not have our own NBA team. We do not have our own. We are from Philadelphia. If I go to Jamaica, where were you born? Broomall or Bryn Mawr. I was born in Bryn Mawr. Broomall. Nobody the hell knows where Broomall, Pennsylvania is.
Right, so you say Philly.
You say you're from Philly because that's where we're from. Now, when we are talking amongst us in Philly,
then you say,
it matters.
I'm from here, I'm from there.
But it doesn't matter in a national story or anything like that. Jameer Nelson's from Philadelphia.
Let me ask you, though. I got to ask, as the Jersey guy on this show, where do you draw the line? Like, I'm from South Jersey.
You're not a Philly guy.
I grew up in Hainesport.
You're not a Philly guy.
So that's where I grew up 25 minutes from the city of Philadelphia.
But you can't say...
As a Philadelphia sports fan my whole life, always loving this town.
New Jersey's not Philly, though.
Because I'm across the river, I'm not a Philly guy?
No, I mean, you can be a Philly sports fan. You're a Philly sports fan, but you're a Jersey guy. You're not a Philly guy.
So it has to be Pennsylvania?
But you're not a Philly guy.
I think you can say it now that you live in the city.
You live there now. You can say it now.
But I'm saying, like, growing up,
South Jersey.
No, you're South Jersey guy. You're not a Philly guy.
So if somebody lives in Cherry Hill, like 10 minutes across the bridge.
Yes, they're a Jersey guy who roots for Philly teams.
But they're closer to Philadelphia than where you grew up.
Yes.
So they don't get to be Philly?
I grew up 12.6 miles directly from my house, up to my corner, make a right-hand turn, and you would drive directly. If I follow that road, Route 3, I drove directly into City Hall. 12.6 miles from 26 South Mellon Road, where I grew up. I could drive into City Hall. I was 12.6 miles. I was closer to City Hall than Jameer Nelson.
See, this feels unfair. If somebody grew up in, like, Collingswood, they're closer to the city than most people in the Philadelphia
state. They're Jersey people.
It's one river.
But they're Jersey people.
Oh, see, you're territorial too, aren't you?
But the thing is, the idea is that it's not nobody in L.A., nobody in San Fran, nobody in Chicago, nobody in Detroit cares about this crap like we do.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, amongst ourselves, we can do this stuff. We can do this. But for a national media outlet to say Jameer Nelson's from Philly, they're absolutely correct. He's from Philly because nobody gives a damn that he's from Lower Delco. Nobody cares.
I want people's thoughts on this because, yes, you're right from the national perspective. We're all in agreement there, I think, on the show. But the conversation of, like, anyone on the Jersey side's not Philly. What's a Philly person? What counts? I want that on the text line because I know everybody's got a thought on that.
Right.
610-632-0975. We'll add that to the conversation today on the Davis Honda text line. Would love to hear from you on that. This dude is as Philly as it gets. Zach Berman joins us coming up next at 9:05. He was at mandatory minicamp. He was in that press conference with Nick Sirianni. We'll get his thoughts on what the coach had to say and also what happened on the field, which is more of where our focus is going as the Eagles prepare for the season. That comes your way, 9:05 right here on Kincaid and South Tunis, 97.5 The Fanatic.